right, so hello everyone. I'm Nico Rotstein, the CTO of Kodit.io. You probably haven't heard of us yet. We're a pretty new startup in the real estate market. And we started actively working on this in the summer. These are the founders, so the other two guys are serial entrepreneurs, especially Kalle. Martti is our real estate expert. He's an agent himself. And I'm trying to kind of make them talk to the computer a bit more easily. We're located in the former hospital Maria 01. We got funding from Tekes and also funding and some advice from Icebreaker VC. So what are we? We are a real estate analytics platform. That's what we're trying to build ultimately. The first service we came up with is this home trading service. So probably many of you here have been through the experience of selling your own apartment to then buy a new one. So you normally run into two awkward situations, which is either there's a gap, so you sell first, but you couldn't find your dream home yet, so you have this awkward gap in between, and you have to move to temporary housing. And then, well, I've heard horror stories with babies living in boxes and so on. The other option is that you buy before you sell, which is also a bit uncomfortable since it gets really expensive. So what we're trying to do is we're building this analytics platform about real estate transactions. So we will build a portfolio of apartments, and when people are selling their own apartment, we make an offer to them. If they take it, then we offer one of our move-in ready homes, and then they can choose from there. And well, basically they can jump from the old home to the new one without any awkward situations. So what brings us here to this event is that in order to build the service and the platform, we need to be really efficient when we buy, when we renovate, when we sell the homes. And this is when data and AI comes into play. So we made some calculations and some surveys, and we will be saving months and tens of thousands of euros to people basically switching home to a better one. We have very valuable data in the form of all transactions, like 15 years worth of transactions. We're also monitoring actively every day all the publicly available apartment sale ads. And we also came up with our own inspection tool for apartments. So before we are ready to make an offer, one of our inspectors goes into the home and fully inspects it. That brings some more valuable data because it's more accurate, and we get data not only about the apartment, but also about the whole building. So the goal is to try and map the city as quickly as possible. We also provide very interesting insights to the inspectors, so we can see what happened previously in that building in terms of renovations, transactions, and so on. We can zoom out and go to the block level, neighborhood level, and we basically can establish any price trends, given any location size, apartment condition, floor number. We basically can correlate that with past transactions and establish a fair price for the apartment we're looking at. So something that is really important here is that I'm talking that we're coming up with the right price, establishing price trends. So basically, a lot of machine learning is involved there. And not sure if people mention this very often, but you normally need domain experts to actually make the machine understand what's going on. So we have the experts, we have Martti, and we have our own inspectors that will be giving us feedback on whether the machine is behaving properly or not. So all the goals also come from the experts. So we're trying to build a business that responds to a market need. And now it's not that we bumped into some interesting data and just trying to come up with something after the fact. So go a bit quicker. So we have enough data to establish focus areas. So if we want to see where the quicker transactions happen, or where the largest profit margin is, we have that in our data. So we came up with some sort of a simulation that tells us, well, if we buy apartments that need renovation, renovate them, and then sell them, this is the price difference we would get, and then we can calculate the profit based on that. So something that we must know in order to make all of this work is what constitutes a fair price for an apartment. And again, we have this predictive model that we're refining pretty much every day, and it's the one that powers up our whole system and makes it work. Because we're not going to be offering cheap prices, because, well, on the one hand, that is people won't be taking the offers if we offer too low offer. On the other hand, if we offer too high, yeah, people will be very happy to accept it, but then there's no profit margin if we renovate and sell. And the same goes when we sell. If we sell very cheap, there's no profit margin. If we sell too expensive, no one's going to buy it. So knowing the fair price of every single apartment we look at is very important for us, and it's what makes the whole business model actually work. Something that also is a very interesting topic in itself is this something we call inventory diversity. So I was mentioning this trading service in which people are happy with our offer, and then we show them, well, this is our portfolio, which apartment would you like to move into? And in order to make that work, we have to ensure that inventory or portfolio is diverse enough so that people find what they're looking for there most of the times. So we are coming up with metrics and trying to follow the trends where people are moving in when they go to an apartment that is already moving ready and it needs no renovation. So in order to achieve all this, we are all the time monitoring the ads. We can see what's the price variation. We can see how long an ad is put up for. And we can determine how easy it is to sell an apartment of certain characteristics in certain places. And that tells a lot about the right price, because in the end, it's all a matter of finding the right price for the apartment at that given moment. And something that is really important to highlight is that this analysis that we make is basically real time or on demand. So if we want to know what's the trend right now for the last, 3 weeks, we can do it. It takes just a minute. We have all the data. If we want to see the trend for the whole last year, or if we want to compare the trend between 2015 and 2017, we can also do it because we have all the available data for doing so. So to wrap up, we have this interesting kind of beginning for a real estate analytics platform, and we already have ideas on where to move it next. So we want to go, of course, beyond the trading model. This is something that is like the first service we offer. We have a lot of building and apartment related data. We know renovations, we know financials, and we could exploit that. So we can basically determine residential needs for a certain area. If we see that people are flocking to a certain neighborhood, we can spot that there's a need for more facilities there. Transportation needs as well. If we see that an area is booming, most likely transportation needs to be good in order to take to facilitate commuting, basically. And in the same way, we can establish whether public services are lacking in a certain area, because we also we are applying some geographical model that tells us how much certain features on the map are influencing the apartment price. So we can basically determine, well, we need more parks or more squares or another school in this neighborhood. And finally, something that is also pretty interesting and takes us a bit away from our model is coming up with renovations recommendations. So I'll just kind of leave this here, but if you think about it, you can see the layout of an apartment, correlated with the price. And if you do it for a few tens of thousands of times, you can come up with what kind of layout is trending lately and how to renovate an apartment to be more efficient when offering this trading service. Thanks.